Hi, I'm Kelly, and welcome to the Unconditional Colors podcast. So today we're going to be talking about self-healing, that process of really working with your emotions, becoming aware of certain things within yourself. And, is that a complicated process? And what can you do if you're feeling stuck? So this video or podcast episode, depending on how you're connecting with this information, is not meant to, diagnose or replace any kind of psychological advice. It's just kind of to bring clarity if you've been working on a lot of things within yourself. And so, to begin, is healing complicated? Now, since we're not really talking about extreme cases, we're talking about things that you've been working on within yourself. Um, I personally don't think that healing has to be a complicated process. I think it's difficult. I think it doesn't feel good. It's not necessarily comfortable, but I don't think it has to be complicated. And so I don't think that you have to try everything under the sun. I don't think that you have to read a bunch of self-help books or even psychology books. Like, I think with just understanding basic things about how your body works with emotion, you're set. So I kind of discovered this in a way of sort of like happy accident. So I was doing intuitive painting for several years, and I didn't realize at that time that I was actually creating safety around my emotions. So I had suppressed my emotions for several years. And so as I was painting, I was creating this safety of like, I have a safe space for all of these suppressed emotions to go. And I actually started to feel safe seeing these emotions reflected back to me. And I started feeling this sense of relief and this sense of like, wow, I don't want to throw my emotions in the trash. Like I started to really embrace my emotions, and I felt like actually I don't want to get rid of them. I just want to be able to express them. And so it inspired a lot of art, it inspired a lot of painting and writing, a lot of different things. So yeah, I kind of discovered this just through painting. And then I realized, through time, because I've gone to study, like a somatic art therapy tool and things like that, I've really learned more about how the nervous system actually works. And so it really is about creating that space where you can express yourself and build a different relationship with your emotions. Like a lot of it comes down to your relationship with your thoughts and with your emotions. And so that's where like you can really begin to just simplify this whole process. So what is something that you like to do that actually makes you feel a sense of emotional release? That actually gives you the space to express your emotions, to feel this sense of clarity, to feel this sense of, lightness, like something actually came out of your chest, the sense of like, okay, I actually feel lighter now. So that could look like so many different things. That could look like I always talk about kind of expressive art type of things like writing, painting, dancing, singing. But that could also be channeled through, physical exercise, physical movement. And it's really, a lot of it is just bringing this awareness into how you tend to respond when certain emotions come up. And I think that that's really the beautiful process of all of this is like you become aware of what your response tends to be. So let's say you feel anxious, for example. And your response to anxiety is feeling judgment towards yourself. Well, you can begin to change that judgment by embracing the anxiety, by giving the anxiety a place to go. So maybe when you feel anxious, I don't know, you go for a walk or something like that. And so it's sort of like you begin to build these habits into your life so that the emotion isn't really the problem. The emotion inspires a certain action rather than this reaction and this rabbit hole and this judgment and all these things. So I think the simplest way to do this honestly is even beyond like having a certain activity, which I think is really important to go deeper into your feelings. But sometimes you might be feeling, overwhelmed in a certain moment, and just focusing on your exhale is a really simple way to regulate your nervous system. So you're breathing in, and then you're really taking that slow exhale, you're focusing on the exhale. And so that's something that you can do when you don't have a lot of time. And so the idea behind all of these things that I'm saying isn't even necessarily, it's not about so much what activity you pick or what you do. It's a lot to do with the habit that you create. So if, for example, you tend to feel overwhelmed by your feelings, instead of allowing yourself to keep going into that emotional spiral, it's like creating this habit of, okay, whenever I feel overwhelmed, I'm going to focus on my exhale. Just something as simple as that. And so it's just sort of like this sense of release, the sense of relief that can happen when you know that you have a system through which you can actually process your emotions. You know, when you have a place for your emotions to go so that they don't have to stay within you. You know, so that could be dance, that could be hiking, that could be so many different activities, you know, that help you to go deeper. But then it can also just be that breath, you know, really creating this conscious habit, creating this conscious relationship with your emotions, and creating a boundary with yourself of like, hey, I don't want to get lost in the rabbit hole of my feelings. I really just want to allow myself to become aware of what's happening and allow myself to regulate. You know, and so I think a lot of the healing process can be simplified into this space because you're not actually trying to change the emotion or anything. You're not trying to change anything at all. You're just being present with it and you're allowing your body to come into a place of safety. You know, so when you build that safety around the emotion, you don't have to change it. There's nothing to change. You don't have to get rid of it. You don't have to ignore it because it's not a threat to you anymore. You know, you're only going to run from something that's a threat to you. And so the whole idea behind this is like you're just creating safety. And so you're building this sense of emotional resilience of like, I can handle anything because I've built this habit of regulating my nervous system when it feels like too much. And so I think in order to actually build that habit, you really need to make a commitment to yourself. But once you have that habit, it's gonna feel good. Like you're gonna feel really safe and protected and grounded. You know, not all the time. We all have our moments, you know, but like even when you're not feeling safe, you can come back into safety a lot faster than if you didn't have this habit. You know, so what I'm really trying to get at here is that a lot of this emotional healing process is going to come down to your habits. And it's like, I think the beautiful thing about this is like, you can begin to build this habit today, you know, and you can take the next 2 weeks of like, that's sort of like the grunt work time of building a habit. And just like, you know, yeah, okay, I have to do this for 2 weeks, but after 2 weeks, you're already going to feel a change. You're already going to feel better in this sense. And you're already going to be building that habit, you know? And so that's the really beautiful thing about this is like, it's not comfortable or easy, but once you're starting to build that habit, you'll feel that change, you know, and that's a super tangible change in the way that you're feeling on a day-to-day basis. You know, so instead of allowing yourself to get into overwhelm, overthinking, and just like woo, like into this world, you're really like, okay, I'm gonna come back into my body now. You know, and I'm gonna teach my body that I'm safe. And that's what you're doing. You're building safety around this whole thing. So I feel like I might be talking in circles a little bit, but I hope that that's clear, you know, because I really like hope that out of this episode you take this away in the sense of like you have the power to create this habit. And once you create this habit, a lot of really beautiful things are going to come as a result. You know, this sense of trust in yourself, this sense of safety in your body, this sense of groundedness, this sense of finding your center, finding that sense of like, okay, I'm strong, like I've got this. You know, like from that place, since you're building this boundary with yourself and how you respond to your own feelings, it'll be a lot easier for you to make boundaries with other people as well. You know, and it'll be a lot easier for you to kind of protect yourself from those times when, you know, maybe you tend to feel like overwhelmed by other people's feelings. Like as you're learning not to feel overwhelmed by your own, you'll also be able to manage that a lot better. And then on a deeper level, it's like you tap into the gifts of your sensitivity, you know, like you tap into the beauty of your emotions. And this is something I'm so passionate about because, like, if you think about really inspiring art, like music, these just works of art that are timeless, that have lived on for so long, a lot of them express a raw emotion. And so if you can tap into that beauty and harness it, no matter how sad you are, no matter how angry you are, no matter how heartbroken you feel, it's like think about the power of that. Like emotions hold immense power, you know, and so you begin to harness that power. You begin to experience that in your own life. And you can do a lot of things with that power. You can inspire people. You know, that's a super inspirational energy. You can show other people that it's safe to embrace their humanity and, lead themselves through that, to regulate their nervous systems and feel safe in all that they are. Because the safer that you feel with the emotions that are coming up now, the safer that you're going to feel in discovering new things about yourself, in feeling a new way to a new situation. Like there's so much possibility here. Um, so yeah, I would say like on a practical level, because I want this to be a practical video before I get into like this dreamy like possibility type of thing. Um, I really just want you to know that you can just build this habit in a really simple way. So you can just start out by kind of listing those times when you feel overwhelmed and overstimulated. And then from that list, you kind of tick off, okay, this is happening to me on a daily basis. This is happening to me on a weekly basis, and you become aware of like how frequently are these things overstimulating you. And then you kind of just take those situations, you like the most frequent ones, because that's going to be the easiest way to build this habit. So you take the most frequent situations and you imagine like, okay, when I'm starting to feel overwhelmed, I'm taking a breath. And then you commit to that, like you write a written commitment, like I'm doing this, I'm committing to taking a breath when I start to feel overwhelmed and overstimulated, and you sign your name, and so like doing those things, writing that down really shows your brain like, okay, you're really committing to this. And it's not about being perfect, it's not about 100% of the time implementing this habit. It's just little by little really building this habit as best as you can, and becoming aware of the times when you don't and how you feel when you don't, you know? Um, so yeah, I really wanted to take it on that practical lens of like, this is something that you can start today. And that's the most exciting thing, and then to kind of compound the effect of this breathing habit, I would invite you to go back to that activity that we talked about. So maybe you're doing that once a week or twice a week or 3 times a week, whatever it is that you can commit to. And it's like that's your space to really release your emotions. So that's your space to just like let it all out. So I would really say that, painting or doing some sort of artistic expression will really help you to that. But I think exercise also helps a lot as well, but I think like exercise combined with artistic expression is like, oof, like that's gonna be, you're gonna feel really, really good, and I'm speaking that from experience, because I used to run almost every day and I used to paint very frequently as well. So these two things together for me, I felt like the exercise helped me to kind of get the pressure off and just like really connect with my body and really just feel like, energized, joyful, bright. And I felt like painting really helped me to release deep emotions, become aware of things, feel lighter on an emotional level. And I feel like those two things together were very complementary. So I'm just kind of throwing ideas out here because you can kind of think of what would work for you. Um, but if you can commit to at least one activity that gives you an outlet once a week on top of the breathing habit, awesome. That's amazing. If you can just commit to the breathing habit, awesome. You know, so yeah, that's what I wanted to add on to this is like healing really doesn't have to be complicated. It just has to be this commitment to not letting yourself go into this rabbit hole and become overstimulated and be in a dysregulated state. And that's the beautiful thing about this is like you have the power to choose. You have the power to control that. And so I think that that's where like a lot of the power comes back in the process of healing rather than feeling like, I don't know, I just hear this advice like just feel it. Feel your feelings. And it's like, yeah, you should feel your feelings, but like it's not effective to feel your feelings in a way that literally dysregulates your nervous system. Like that's not actually going to do anything positive for you, you know? And so as you're feeling your feelings in a way and you're noticing when your nervous system's starting to become overactivated, you're feeling how your breath change, you're feeling how your pulse is changing. And you're like, okay, you tap into that exhale and it's like, okay, now you're really tapping into an effective form of feeling your feelings. So I think that that's where the simplicity comes in is like this really is as simple as breathing. But it's the difficult part is like really committing to that and not letting yourself get caught into that like spiral. So so yeah, that's really what I wanted to say about that. This doesn't have to be complicated. Like you can totally do this. And on the other side of that lies your gifts, lies this sense of like empowerment, lies this sense of wonder and joy and just like, I'm not saying it's going to be all rainbow and sunshine, but I'm saying like when those moments come up, when life presents its challenges, you're going to feel a lot more resilient. You're going to feel like, ooh, I got this. I can handle this. And so that's where it's so wonderful to begin to build these habits because you're building trust, you're building confidence, you're building like, yeah, like I don't have to worry about all these things. You move out of that worry mindset and you move into like, I'm safe and I trust myself and whatever comes up, I'm going to be able to handle it. So, yeah, those are some effects of that. And I think at the beginning of this episode, I said that we were going to talk about something else, and I'm trying to remember what it was. Um, Jeopardy music, like do 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 do. Um, yeah, so I want to talk about if healing was going to be complicated, and I don't know, I lost my train of thought with that one. So yeah, I think that that's really what you can take away from this is to implement this habit and to stop making this whole process about you. Like however you're feeling, whatever is coming up for you, it's not a definition of who you are or who you aren't. You're not too sensitive or too emotional or anything like that. Oh, I think what I want to mention is like if you are able to heal. So so yeah, I worked with someone last year who had tried everything under the sun, like really everything under the sun. And she would say, like, am I capable of healing? Like, am I ever gonna heal? And and I think that like this really kind of goes off of that, is healing complicated? And I feel like her feeling was like, I've been trying all of these things to feel less anxious and nothing has worked. And she was trying things for several years, 14 years of trying lots of different therapies, taking pills, like doing everything. She was really, really committed to this. But she really felt disheartened by the whole process. Um, and it was really interesting to kind of hear this question because like the capacity to heal yourself is already within you. And of course there are certain tools that will help you. Of course working with someone's going to help you because they're able to co-regulate with you. They're able to kind of like take you deeper into the process. They're able to show you tools that might work for you. But like in the end you're always healing yourself. Other people are facilitating the process for you. They're guiding you through the process. They're helping you with certain elements, but you've always been the person who's healing yourself. It's the same way that, like, when you have a cut on your arm, maybe you go to the doctor, you get it disinfected, whatever, but your body healed that cut on its own. Like, there are certain things that helped to speed in that process or make sure that it doesn't get infected, whatever. But your body did the work to heal it. The other things just helped the process that your body was already on. And so I think that that's what all of this comes down to. Like if you're feeling stuck, that's what it was. If you're feeling stuck in your process of healing, that's what I want to talk about. If you're feeling stuck in this process, it's not because you're doing the wrong thing. Well, I mean, okay, I might have to take that back. You might be doing things that genuinely aren't helping you. But I don't necessarily think that you're probably doing the wrong thing. You're probably just not doing things that are activating your natural healing power. So if I have a cut on my arm and I put dirt in it, like I'm preventing my process of healing. I'm making it a lot more difficult for me to tap into what's natural to my body. And healing emotionally is very similar. So like once you have this basic framework that I shared before of like letting yourself become activated and then down regulating your nervous system, that's going to really save you a lot of time. And that's going to connect you with your body's natural capacity to heal. And it's going to build this emotional strength. So you feel, maybe for example, you feel activated by like feeling a little bit of anger. and then you downregulate. And then you feel a little bit more anger, and then you downregulate. But like every time your body is kind of opening to be able to feel more without getting overwhelmed. And so that's the idea, is like you're building strength. You're like literally doing reps, emotional reps. And so, yeah, like in terms of if you're feeling stuck, it's probably just because you're too far in one of these sides. So one side is this feeling of like really being in the rabbit hole of your feelings, really feeling consumed by your feelings. And then the other end is being calm, peaceful, stable. But you need both. You need to be able to fluidly move between both. So if you're feeling stuck, it's because you're not actively moving between both. You can't just stay in this calm state. And you can't just stay in this emotionally like overwhelmed type of state. You need to be able to in and out, inhale, exhale, move between both. And that's where this becomes a practice. That's where this becomes, building that habit and allowing your body to kind of recalibrate to that, because that's already within your body, and you can see it when you cry, for example. Your breathing starts to change because your body's trying to regulate your nervous system when you're crying. So you take deeper breaths, and so that's an example of your body already helping you to move in this process. So yeah, I think like if you're feeling stuck, if you're feeling like, will I ever heal? Is this working? What you're doing might not be working, but it depends on what you're doing, because maybe the tool that you're working with actually works, but you're too much on one side. You're like really in the rabbit hole of your feelings, or you're really just like love, light, peace, love, you need to be able to have this fluidity, this flexibility. So that's really the idea. All of this is already within you, so it's just a process of activating that, getting back in touch with that, building that habit, building that repetition, building that strength. Um, so yeah, that's all I wanted to say. You have the capacity to heal. If you're working to heal certain things in yourself and it's starting to feel really big, like it's too big, just remember, inhale, exhale. Let the feelings rise and let them come back into a place where you feel grounded and safe. And little by little, you're going to start feeling a lot safer with your feelings. So, yeah, to kind of sum this up, we talked about in the beginning building this habit when you notice that you're starting to feel overwhelmed, breathing, focusing on the exhale, building that as a habit, and focusing on that for 2 weeks to really just build the base of that habit. And then in the second part, we're just talking about how as you're building that habit, you're recalibrating your body, you're activating your natural healing capacity. And that's the really beautiful thing. So if you're feeling stuck, this might really help you to feel like, ooh, I am moving, I am feeling better, I am feeling stronger, I am feeling more stable, because nervous system regulation isn't necessarily about feeling calm. A lot of times it's just about feeling stable and safe. So yeah, and I just want to, so now we can go into like the dreamy talk that I started to get into before. Now, so let's say that you do all of this, and we're talking like a couple weeks later, and you're like, yeah, like I'm feeling stronger, I'm feeling better. Now you can really get like exciting with this, like you can really like, I don't know why I said it like that. Like you can really get into this like really like wonderful exploration, of just like your intuition and your gifts and like the things that are unique to you and your unique self-expression. Like all of these things can start to like flourish so much more because now you feel safe. Now you're not being consumed by your emotions, but you're actually like managing them and moving through them. And like now you can kind of create that art, like, and you don't even have to actually create art to do it. It's like the way that you are, it's the way that you move through life can be this really inspiring thing for other people, because it's like when you see, I don't know, I think of like a swan, like swans have this like grace about them. It's like you embody that grace, you embody that sense of like, wow, like that's so beautiful, because you're moving through like the difficult expression of your emotion and finding the gold, the inspiration, this really awe-inspiring aspect of it. So, yeah, I think like that's where you tap into these kind of like this magic that's within you, this sense of like these things that are really hard to explain in words that live within you, and you can see them so much more clearly because you're not being clouded by feeling overwhelmed. You know, like when you're feeling sad, you're really like you're feeling sad, you know? And that's okay. And you can use now you have the power to use that sadness for whatever you want to create. You know, maybe you write something about it. Maybe it inspires a project idea you have. Like there's so many ways your emotions could inspire you. You know, and that's the really beautiful thing is like you go from this state of overwhelm to deeply inspired, deeply moved, like the sense of just really being alive and in life, you know? Kind of like wow, okay. Kind of like that way that kids are, you know, that sense of like they have this free, fluid emotional expression, you know. Um like they're sad one moment and they're happy, like they're just expressing their emotions as it comes up, you know. And so I think it's like you tap into that sense of freedom again, that sense of like I can just be in life, you know. I don't have to worry about so many things. You don't have to avoid things. You don't have to try and like actively control things, you know. And you don't have to, you know, avoid certain situations because you're like, oh, but what if, you know? You can kind of just be in life again, you know, with this sense of just openness. So I think that that's really the beauty of it. I think my voice is going away. Okay, now we're back. um, so yeah, I think there's just I got really excited to share this. I'm sorry if this has been kind of messy, but I just really wanted to share this, you know? I feel like a lot of people kind of feel overwhelmed or stuck by their process of healing or like, is this working? Is this ever going to work? And really, a lot of it comes down to very simple principles that aren't necessarily easy to put into place. But once you put these habits into place, you really connect with this like beautiful stuff, you know, these really beautiful sides of yourself, you know, and this way that your emotions make you feel alive, you know, make you feel really like in life and just like life is moving through you in a way. You know, like that's the idea is like life is like dancing with you. You know, you're not like, ooh, is this gonna make me sad? Or this, you know, you're not like closing yourself up. You're like really like opening your shoulders and just like, I don't know, doing this kind of like wiggly arm movement, you know? You're just like floating. Of course, it's not always gonna feel that good, but I'm just saying like as you can effectively move through your pain, you access levels of joy that you probably never felt before. That was at least my experience, is like the more I opened my heart to my own pain, I felt levels of joy that I didn't even know existed. You know, I was like, wow, I feel like I feel so like I don't know, I just felt so in awe, you know? And that's the really beautiful thing about this is there's this quote by Khalil Gibran where he talks a lot about this, you know, joy and sorrow. And he talks about how, you know, pain is the breaking of the shell that encloses your understanding. And then he also talks about joy and sorrow in the sense of, you know, your sorrow and joy are like two sides of the same coin, basically. You know, and so as the, I think he describes it as like making a cup, like a clay cup. So it's like the fire. I don't know. You should just look up Joy and Sorrow, Khalil Gibran, the prophet. But basically, what he says is like, you know, isn't the same kiln that burned the cup, like, isn't that the same one that you drink your wine out of? Or like the deeper that you carve into that cup, the more the wine can hold. So the idea is like the sorrow carves into your being, and you hold more joy as a result. I should have just paraphrased it instead of like actually trying to remember what it was. But yeah, so that's the concept of it. And I really live under this principle because I experienced a lot of different things and I suppressed my feelings for a long time. And when I had this emotional kind of awakening, this heart opening, I realized like, wow, feeling is beautiful. You know, no matter how much it might feel painful, it also feels really really beautiful on the other end, you know, and it's sort of like your perception and your interpretation in certain moments. Um, and I started to feel there's just really deep gratitude for being alive and just like, wow, like, because I felt alive again. I wasn't numbed out anymore. And I noticed that a lot of us tend to numb ourselves out, especially if you are sensitive, because it's just sometimes it feels like it's too much. And it's not meant to feel like it's too much. It's meant to expand you, it's meant to open you up, it's meant to make you stronger. There is emotional strength, you can build it. And the reps are really kind of like becoming aware of yourself and actively regulating your nervous system, getting back into your body when you feel like it's too much. Because the more you do that, the less you will actually feel like things are too much. The more you'll really be able to handle. Um, so yeah, there's a lot of beauty here. There's a lot of potential in all of this. I know that the habits part and all of that can sound kind of boring, but at the same time, there's this really beautiful side to all of it that's really deeply inspiring and almost poetic, like The Prophet by Khalil Gibran is a really great book if you kind of want to get a deeper idea of what I'm trying to say here, because he talks about these contrasts a lot, this contrast between pain and joy, and the sense of just like finding that beauty in those contrasts, really allowing yourself to go deep into both sides rather than chasing one, you know? Because a lot of us have been taught, for example, like to be happy or just like put on a happy face for the world, right? Like, hi, I'm good. How are you? But it's beautiful when you really embrace the depth of your pain. And that book will really kind of bring what I'm saying to life in this beautiful poetic way, like I think that that's his gift. So I will leave it to the master. Like that book really has changed my life so much, and it's just really it's such a work of art. So yeah, I would say build this habit. Yeah, it's a little bit boring, but read this book. It'll super inspire you. You'll feel the sense of like love and dream and like the sense of inspiration, and you can do that at the same time, and yeah, you'll be all set. So so that's the end of this episode. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, I know this episode was a bit messy, but you know, sometimes it just happens that way. It really, really came from my heart, and I tried to explain it in the best way I could. So I hope that it made sense. Um, yeah. And so if you have any questions or anything, you can leave a comment on the YouTube video. You can send me an email, connect@unconditionalcolors.com. You can DM me on Instagram at unconditionalcolors. I think that's about it. I'm on TikTok too at Unconditional Colors, but I really like don't know how to use TikTok that much, so yeah, I would say don't message me there. I might not see it. Yeah, so that's about it. And if you're interested in this process, if this is something that you're like, I would really like to go deeper into everything that I shared here, that's what my one-to-one program Iridescence is all about. It's a super flexible one-to-one program, so you can sign up for a month, you can sign up for 6 months, you can do like the time frame that feels right for you. But we will be working with changing your habits towards your feelings, building that safety around your feelings, and also working with color therapy so that you receive new feelings in your body. You connect with feelings that maybe you didn't feel safe to feel before, and connect with color as sort of like sound healing, in the sense of like how certain sounds can make you feel in certain ways. Like that's kind of the idea with color, we're working with art therapy to release certain emotions, build a healthy relationship with certain emotions. But then we're working with color therapy so that you feel like you can influence your feelings. If you want to feel energized, you can work with orange, and there are so many things that we can work with within that. So if you're interested in that, feel free to send me an email or DM on any of those things I talked about, and I will see you soon. Thank you so much for being here.